what's for me? How's it hanging? How's it happening? You guys know this is Kevin from the Chord Progression Podcast. The podcast So Magazine describes as the one that initiates profound discussions with rock and metal artists, allowing fans to cover the creative workflow of their favorite musicians and understand the factors that make the band succeed or fall from fame. We are also sponsored by Dark Fusion Systems, the best for your custom computing needs. Get $100 off your templates code CVPod at darkfusionsystems.com. They trip the podcast below. Score feature presentation. Huge shout out to Miss Tori Kravitz from She's with the Band and Am's Twitter PR, because she sent me this band and I looked at it and I'm like, are you kidding me? This exists? And now after going through this episode, I'm like, this episode exists and this band exists. How is this possible? We have Calva Louise on the podcast today. Jess, Alizon, and Ben are on with us with their brand new album, Edge of the Abyss, coming out on July 11th. We go deep into the backstory of this band, how they all formed in the craziest sense of the word, how this whole entire journey has taught them that they will never say no to their dreams and they will make it work in any way possible, and constantly making it work has led to this incredible sound that is Edge of the Abyss, and how that all was recorded in the most incredible way as well. You ready to fall in love with a band that you should be in love with? You're gonna be. Let's go! Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, listeners of the Chord Progression Podcast. This year in 2025, we've brought on some incredible artists with some incredible new music. Like, we've been bringing out artists that have had some experimental stuff, some heavy hitting stuff, but so consistently have been producing Album of the Year candidates. And as we start the second half of 2025 with this band and their brand new album, it's hard to say that they're not continuing that trend, because I've listened to the whole entire thing, and trust me, they are coming all the way from the UK with a metal, punk, electronica, art rock kind of mix. It is experimental. It is heavy. You don't know what to expect in every single song, but all you know what to expect is greatness. The brand new album, Edge of the Abyss, comes out on July 11th. So, you know what? Let's just talk to the band, get to know them, and get you into this album before it releases. So please welcome Jess, Alizon, and Ben from Calva Louise to the podcast. So the three of you, welcome to the Chord Progression Podcast.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thanks for being on. How is everything going in your world? Of course, we recorded this pretty early before the album release. So how is everything going right now for you guys? How you feeling? Just how's life?
It's good. It's hectic, but good.
Great, yeah. We came back from tour recently with Bloodywood, which was incredible. And now we're like back home working on like videos for the album.
Not a bad way to go about it. And when you toured with Bloodywood, that was right after they released their second album as well. So it was probably pretty feverish to see Bloodywood, and pretty much a big crowd that's always going to be energetic, especially not only for Bloodywood, but had to be energetic for you guys as well.
Yeah, it was the reception of the audience for all the bands, for Demonic Resurrection as well. It was fantastic. It was like the energy was always up, and of course, like culminating to a climax for Bloodywood. So it was just fantastic experience and great feedback.
Were you playing a lot of these new songs live during that tour? Were you only sprinkling a couple of them in there, like the singles in there, just to give people a taste of what to expect on the brand new album?
Oh,
yeah, we're actually playing new. We played like 2 unreleased tracks on the tour. Well, the Aimless came out while we were on tour. Yeah, but yeah, it was like putting new stuff in there for sure.
It's like half of the set was new stuff, and then half of the set was for Over the Threshold. So the previous one, so it was good. Yeah.
See, that makes sense, just because you're going to get a lot of people to come out to see Bloodywood who might not know who Calva Louise is. And I've been seeing more and more bands continue to do this when it comes to having new music ready to go, having new music announced like an album, but going on tour beforehand and sprinkling some new songs that are yet to be released, because you get a chance to not only see how some of these songs are interacting with fans live, you also get a chance to see how fans are going to take to these songs upon release day. So you get a feeling of, okay, how can we put this out and market this the best way? Beyond that, though, is there something that we're doing that people are just really latching onto in a live setting that we can really focus in on in terms of the sound of how do we want to expand this further? Even though when it comes to Calva Louise, the expansion of sound on here is, I'm not sure if you didn't really touch a specific genre with, like, you just go without, like, oh, we touched this one, we touched this one, we touched this one. It's like you went all across the music spectrum and try and put everything into this album, but make it cohesively work.
Yeah, that's great.
That's
I
right,
love that. It wasn't conscious, but yeah.
Well, how was it not conscious? Because it feels like it would have to be this good, but also this experimental and transition from one piece to the next so seamlessly.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, because Jess writes all the songs, and I mean, well, you can speak better for yourself, but like, I don't think you like purposefully thought like, oh, I want this genre and this genre here and this genre here. It's just you just follow what's natural, right? And then
it's again because of all like the where we come from and like the things are falling in the table. It's just the influences of where we grew up are so present that like it's just a normal thing. Like we were saying yesterday, like when I used to go to school in the morning in Venezuela, like, I used to take a bus with my mom and my dad, and like there was like salsa music, like literally in the bus in the morning, and that every day for I don't know how many years. So it kind of like it stays like ingrained with you. Our love for heavy music is kind of what brought us together. So that was like the common the aspect of what we want to play music. What we enjoy the most is playing heavy music. But like even Alizon, like growing up in France with like French hip hop, French rap music, French pop music, and things like that. All of those things always like sprinkle a little bit, and we always share with each other like our different influences and in new and old as well, like from our where we grew up.
All right, that makes a lot more sense to me, especially being able to get a little bit of the backstory from the press release and see what I could find online about the band. Just given the fact that you all come from so many different places, have so many different pieces of your life story, so when it comes together, it's like nothing is off limits in terms of what potential influence or potential sound might come forward in this album. Before jumping into that album, though, because the backstory of this band is something that is not only incredible as a collective, but as individuals as well. I was reading through what I could, and I was just sitting there thinking, is this actually real? How do three people that come from these insane like stories and backgrounds come together to make music like this? So I haven't done this in a while, but when it comes to each of you individually, from where your influences came from, but like the stories that you had becoming Calva Louise, what was that like? Because I know each and every one of you has a very unique story that will have people probably having their jaws drop on the floor, but be more invested in the band if they know what those stories are. So whoever wants to start, I want to hear that backstory of each of you.
No, but yeah, that's absolutely right. I think like it makes more sense. Like it's kind of like how I say, like a cause and consequence. Like because of our backgrounds are so diverse and just such strange stories, the music makes sense through that. But I don't know, like.
Who wants to go first?
I mean, it usually starts with you, Jess, I guess, because that's.
Well, okay.
Otherwise, it kind of takes in the middle.
I go along. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go like long story short, and then it'll flow with you both. So I grew up in Venezuela. I grew up in like in a city called Guarenas, and I always went to the music. My parents are rockers. But they always took me to gigs in Venezuela. There were always like, like festivals happening and shows and stuff. And so I grew up wanting to play music, but it was a bit difficult where I lived, and like I couldn't find a way really. So when I was 16, I was like about to turn 16. I told my parents I want to go to England, but they're like, okay. But I go, already inside this background, I go 3 nationalities. So I'm Venezuelan. My dad is French, but in Venezuela we used to speak in Spanish, so I didn't really speak much French. And so I have the French passport, and so we I made a plan with my mom, is that I'm gonna go to a city that is the closest to England, in France, because I can't just, go. I'm lucky. I got the French passport, so I'll go to France, finish school there, and then gonna move to England. So I planned everything in 3 months. I didn't tell anyone, and I had this look and unlocks. My parents never had much money, and I didn't really have much to lose. So when I was like, I'm going, my mom's told that you go with her. We need to do a new life, and she stayed in Venezuela for a little bit. So my dad was like, I don't know what to do. All my life is here. What am I gonna do there? And she's like, doesn't matter. You're a musician. We'll figure it out. But so my dad lived in another city, and I lived in a nunnery. Well, it was like it was strange, but it was fun as well. Only girls were allowed, so my dad couldn't even help me take my stuff. But in the end, they were like, "Okay, you can come in." And next to that place, the school is where I met Alizon. So I moved. So when 16, so moved to Rouen in Normandy, which is, it's like the north of France that is directly close to England. So went there to Normandy, and just, the closest. And when I went to school there, my goal was already, I'm like, right, I'm making a band, like right now, right here. And I was going to be crazy. They're like this crazy foreign girl, like that comes just weird, and it was a great school, public school, really good. The town that you've seen is really good. Like, looks like Harry Potter, it looks like Hogwarts. The school is a medieval place, and so by being kind of like, Alizon, how are you? Doing a bass. And now you can now my part of it. Now your turn.
Yeah. So, I mean, I grew up in France, obviously. I'm just French. The others are like more interesting. I'm just French. But, yeah, I remember just wanting to be in a band since I was a kid, and nobody cared, because in the UK it's like part of the culture to be in a band. Everybody's in a band. Everybody's cousin and grandparents are in a band. You know what I mean? It's just a normal thing. But in France, maybe I wasn't lucky, but it was really hard to find anybody to play with. And so I was like 16, and then Jess just appeared out of nowhere.
In the middle of the school year as well. So I just arrived like second trimester, I don't know. Yeah.
And it was like, wow, someone that has the same kind of focus and commitment to being in a band. That's amazing. We should do something. And then we started playing music together, and and then just kept on going, and I followed to England, and I was like,
and that was funny as well.
Yeah, so we moved to London just with nothing, and
moved. Yeah, that's a big word.
Traveled there, and then just trying to figure it out, and I didn't speak English at all. So when the band formed, we couldn't even speak together for a long time, for a bit. I mean, yeah, I don't know. Am I missing stuff?
Well, yeah, but
there's always so many details.
Because when we moved to England, like already in school, so we started playing. I mean, I moved there at 16, but then we didn't start playing until we were 17. Already, I was kind of like figuring out, like, my dad was trying to find a job, and my mom was still in Venezuela, and it was very kind of like, I was kind of by myself. And I had never seen snow in my life. That was honestly a bit shocking to me. The cold and the snow, and I was just kind of like, I was just, like, felt like just a little lonely child that just has like music, and the nuns weren't very happy about me playing music in the room that I was assigned. So it was funny, but when everything started to be together, like more like stable things. We finished school, graduated high school. Alizon's parents are, what are you gonna do now? You like university, college, and all that stuff. So we were kind of like and we're trying to play gigs in France and trying, but again, people were like, what is this weird thing? Like, you sound too weird. It's very strange. And me, when I speak French, I have an accent, and so you never really fit in, never really belong. And so when we decided to come to England, like to London, Alizon was like, his parents and people were like, what are you gonna do? Like, you don't know anyone. Like, it makes, and but I was like, I did it once, can't do it again. It's fine. Like it's gonna be fine, and we're close. It's not like Venezuela is way more far away. So here it's close. So I was like, okay, let's go in his Twingo. His little car, and we would just go from the ferry to London. So from Brighton, New Haven, and we burned like CD copies, and we would just go. Not even being able to speak very good English. Alizon could speak non-English at all. We go to pubs, and like any town that we were, we just stop, and then see around what we could do, like to give music, go to music shops, so then when we arrived to London, we would sleep in the worst places, like it was really hard. But then like I met somebody in France, I met somebody, and then they're like, I know somebody that has a club in London where he loves rock music. Why don't you go meet him? So our friend Omar, and so we went to his club in Hoxton, and he was like, yeah, I really like you. I'll book you, because we were trying to do open mics here and there, go to every gig that we could, that was free, we could just go. And it was just Alizon and me, and Omar booked like a little, like show night, and we played the Alizon and me, and Ben was playing as well with another band. And so that was like he was like, where are you guys from? Like, it's so weird. I was like, well, I'm from Venezuela. And Alizon was like, French, but like no English. And then he's like, oh, I'm from New Zealand and stuff, and I live here in England. And it was funny because we had similar, Ben moved from New Zealand, but now you can say now.
Yeah. Yeah, so all of that, put it on the side. Meanwhile, in the southern hemisphere, I'm hitting cake tins with wooden spoons at like 2 years old. So I'm like, my parents, they got me my first drum kit when I was about 3 from like a yard sale, much to the detriment of my neighbors. Rest in peace. And yeah. So I grew up in New Zealand, in a place called Rotorua in the North Island. And my parents moved to London when I was 14. So I went with them. So I left New Zealand then. So I grew up in New Zealand, finished growing up in London, and then I was in a string of bands, and then the latest one played this show that Jess just mentioned, and that was kind of how we met. And
and we were like, it was very, the stories were like in a way pretty similar, like, oh, he moved like continents, when I was 14, and I did when I was 16, and Alizon did like the moving and like learning new language. So we all had like this thing in common that it was kind of like, well, there's, not, we're gonna risk a lot, to do things, but the good thing is we didn't really have much, so there was not something like there's nothing to fall back. Like when we tried to live in London, me and Alizon lived in like 10 different places, and it was every time was really hard. Like sometimes I would spend 2 weeks in one place, and then the favor, like there's as much as you can ask to someone, that to stay in someone's place. And it was little by little like that we could find ways, and we'll help each other. Like Ben's parents were like, oh, we know these people, they're looking for like a girl to live in a room, kind of I don't know the names exactly, but like students, they want to rent a room for a young student, or I'm not a student, I play rock music, but it was good still. It was kind of like we were trying to find survival, and at the of like where we're gonna sleep, and at the same time be like, but we can't just we almost fell into the, especially Alizon, into you work to survive, and then fuck your dream, and in the end that's what kind of things like, well, if I'm gonna work to survive, why don't I do it close to my family, or close to where I know like the language better, back in France and things like that, for Alizon. So what happened is that Alizon got all his work tools stolen.
Because I had a job basically where I was just building furniture around London in people's home. So I did that for like 6 months just so we can afford to be there. And then, like Jess said, somebody broke into my car and stole my tools. But I also had some of our music equipment in there, and they didn't touch that.
They did touch it, but they were like, "What the fuck is this?"
They like
and
opened everything, and it's like
they're like, "We can't sell this."
Yeah.
And
so that was kind of a sign.
And so what happened with theirs, that was kind of like a wake up call. That, I mean, it was pretty rough patching. Like we were sharing a bunk bed and like a place called Catra, which is really nice, but I mean, if you know London, it's a bit rough, in there. But I mean, I come from, I lived also in Caracas a little bit, so I'm like, it's okay. London, anywhere in London is good, So what we decided is that we really felt that we're gonna put a whole life in this. There was like a lot of like little slaps in the faces by life, and we were like, fuck this. Like, we'll drive to Berlin, and we knew someone there. And so we called Ben, and we're like, you're in this. Do you wanna join? And he's like, yeah. You're like,
yeah,
okay.
Like at that point, I'd been in London for a decade or so, and I was like, yeah, let's go. Like time for something new.
And we stayed there for like a month in Berlin. Nothing came out of it. But it wasn't a waste of time, because it was great to see like the city, try to understand more, and we became like really good friends. Alizon and Ben will be sharing a bed, because we just
shared a bed for a month,
and many times since.
So it was kind of like, we don't really know where we need to go, but more we do things, more we try things, more the answers become a little bit clearer. And I always keep saying kind of like, what we're gonna do, we can't go back. That's what Over the Threshold is kind of about. Like, we already stepped, we went over it. We there's just just one way, one doorway, like, it's just, you can't just be coming backwards. That's kind of like a little bit of the background, but intertwined.
So there's a common question that I ask, especially for bands that are really new or like just starting out that come to the podcast. I'll ask them to like share the origin story of the band, but to do it in a way that would start out like the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So I don't want something that's simple. I don't want something that's, just concise. Like, I want a full on like Iron Man 1 type story. That is easily the closest we've ever come to achieving that, because it is just absolutely, utterly maddening to hear how all three of you have always been stepping outside of your comfort zone and just being so willing to do it in order to make your dreams come true when it comes to the musical side of things. Whether it's going from Venezuela to France to London, going from France to London when you don't know English whatsoever, going from New Zealand to London, moving all these different places, trying all these different things. And when life is consistently trying to push you in the, I would say, the safer direction, like building furniture, life then comes and shows you that that's not the way to go by stealing your tools and leaving all the music stuff. It's like, well, this is it right here. But the one thing that stands out, it was when it comes to your music, it's kind of, it doesn't necessarily have like, it doesn't fit in specifically to one place. But that's just the story of Calva Louise right there, and every single one you individually. It's like you never perfectly fit into one place. So instead of trying to conform to whatever that one spot is or what that one sound is, you were influenced by everything around you, but continue to drive forward and try and achieve your dreams, trying to achieve your goals, and do whatever you want in life to make sure that life was going to be the best that it was for you. It wasn't going to be on anybody else's time, anybody else's idea of what life should be like. It was only going to be on yours. You're going to do anything you wanted with it. And throughout all of that, seeing just the different cultures you come from, the different countries you come from, the different types of sounds and music that are associated with those, you see how all of them can interplay together. And you have such an array of sounds, styles, ideas, influences, and life examples that just transform this whole entire sound into what it is today. So without going through this insane style of an origin story, I don't think that the music becomes this close to being this unique, but becomes this close to being fluid in every aspect of it, in terms of going from one piece to the next and not sounding like it doesn't make sense, because every step of the way it did. I just can't believe that there's a band out there like Calva Louise that has gone through this amount of, just little things in life that have led to this. Who would have thought that someone from Venezuela, France, and New Zealand would form a band in London and create one of the most unique sounds I've ever heard in my entire life? I never. You could have told me this last week, and I would never have believed you. But that's how quick things can change.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think one thing I was thinking about, like this particular thing. We've been very lucky. I feel particularly lucky to have had to have the parents that I have that are a bit also outside the box. Like when I said that you, and I remember turning around to my mom. I remember exactly the moment where I decided I wanted to leave Venezuela, and I said to her, like, to me to do music. I mean, I didn't need much convincing, but like, to me to do music. You see how much I'm learning English. I was trying to learn English a lot to write music. The genre I want to do. I can't really do it here. Nobody takes me seriously in that sphere. Because I was just a little girl, like, and nobody really was like, who's this little girl doing? Like, what the fuck? So I remember just feeling, and she was like, you know what? You're right. Okay, let's brainstorm. Like, let's do it. My dad was a bit more like, whoa, like, what you want to do? Like, this is crazy. But to have had, like, imagine if my parents would be like, no, shut up, we're not doing that. And my parents, again, like, even with the way they live now, they live in a 1-bedroom, very small place. That when I come, my dad needs to sleep in the sofa because it's just, there's just one room and like a studio thing. So they sacrificed a lot for me, but they're good because they're like, material stuff don't count. Like, what counts is, I mean, it does. Like, I wish we could have a bit more money, but the risking for what your heart needs to go is more important. So I was already very lucky there, and then I was lucky as well that it's like the same with playing guitar and playing keyboards, and a lot of people were like, you can't do this, and I also was like, whoa, why? Who are you to tell me I cannot do it? I'm gonna we're gonna do it. So there's this kind of like mentality that we do think, well, we're not dumb, like in thinking in a strategy, like, we can't just be mindless and then like the decision of like moving to London or whatever, it's not without research. It's not without, I mean, the crazy shit we did, like it's Well, because you don't know, but because you don't know, you go there and try to understand how things work, and then it's a lot of effort that, but I feel like we kind of had this. Let's choose to believe, and what happens happens. If it doesn't happen, well, at least we tried. But let's choose to like. I always keep saying to them, we need a miracle. Like the amount of times,
so many times.
the amount of times, like we don't live in London anymore, but London is very hard. Like it's gonna chew you up, and even if it's really pretty. But the amount of times where I was told you need to move out, because X reason, and you're like, oh, of course, but I'd be like, like singing, I need to move out in 3 days, and I don't know where the fuck I'm gonna go, and then thinking like that, and I'm like, something needs to happen, and then it's funny. So you talk to somebody, and they're like, hey, I know somebody that will be, they're fine with you staying, and they have a couch, and they're good, and they say they really love what you do, like in terms of music, and so things like that. Like we've been very, very lucky in all those aspects, and it feels kind of like, like we always find the how you say it, wait, I got it. It's an expression that it's multicultural, like you have it everywhere. In the hay,
the needle in
the hay. Yes, and it feels like we always kind of find that, but for that you need to like stay calm. So I feel like we're being a mixture of very lucky and the unlock, like the challenges that we've had are being to help us realize how lucky we actually are, and that feeds into thinking we're good, we're doing good, everything is fine.
I would have to say you're definitely lucky, and I'm glad that you see it that way too, at least to some degree, because just everything that the band has gone through to get to the point where you are now, you're going to need a little bit of luck to try and not only have all three of you come together the way that it happened, but also to continue to drive forward when life is constantly pushing you in another direction. But that doesn't happen if you don't put yourself in that position, and it doesn't work if you don't continue to try and do things strategically as well, because if you're not doing that and you're just trying to go throw stuff to the wind, you're probably going to end up putting yourself in a position where that luck can't happen or it can't really flourish. Where it seems like, again, Calva Louise is the band. It's like the band that should never have been, because of everything that is going against that story of where things could have stopped, where you guys could have said, you know what, this is too much, we got to go back and change something up. But it's just the continued drive to want to do something like this, the continued desire to always find a way, even when it seems absolutely impossible, or it seems like every other week you're always wondering, where am I actually going to be living? Where am I going to be sleeping? And can I still continue to do this? But it's through the perseverance of that and the strategic understanding of how to, get from one spot to the next and continue to be able to make music is what has led you to not only making, when Edge of the Abyss comes out, 4 albums, but to a point where, honestly, I'm hoping when Edge of the Abyss comes out, this is the album that people look and say, who is this band and why have we never heard them before? But this is the time we make sure that doesn't continue. Like, everyone's gonna gotta hear about Calva Louise after this album drops.
Well, we hope so.
That's all we can hope for sure.
And I hope for it. But jumping into the album specifically now, because I already brought it up earlier, but this album and this sound takes on so many different forms, so many different styles, and so many different ideas, and all amalgamates in a total of 11 songs that show all of this. So specifically when it came to writing this album, what was that process like, due to the fact that this thing is as dynamic as they come?
Well, so just like the rest of our journey, because it was chaotic and no means to, it was very, very hard, but very good at the same time. It's the best we could have done with what we had. And again, we were extremely lucky that someone so special, like Gareth from Pendulum, found us on TikTok. I love social media for that. The old this it's so bad in so many ways, but it's got that thing where you don't know who can find you. You don't know who can watch your video. And we again lucky that Gareth from Pendulum stumbled across one of our videos on TikTok or Instagram Reels or something, and he messaged us and being like, "Hey guys, like, do you want to meet? Are you in London?" And we're like, "We can be, yeah, let's." And so meeting him was a great thing, because when we were supposed to be doing this album, I mean, our lives are so hectic in trying to work, and it's very DIY. We do everything ourselves, and we got like or touring opportunities and like gigging, and not knowing how you're gonna pay for tour, because that's another thing. Like nothing everything is rigged against musicians. So when we had a deadline and we were like, we don't know how we're gonna do this. We don't know how the fuck we're gonna do this. So everything was done DIY. So basically the final products of the songs are they're actually the same files as the demos, as the beginning of it. So what we would do is that I will write and record in my room. Like some takes I did like 100 times, but some of the takes was just the first take. The guitar's a bit out of tune. Well, it sounds good. I don't care. Like that's what stays there. And after I go through like all the body of the song, said to Alizon, "Here's the project," and give to Ben, "Here's the project. Now do your thing." And so then you record.
That's what's cool about the way that worked is like it's like you said, it's the same project from start to finish, where we just pass it around, and then I'll just do the bass, record the bass, and then Ben will like do the drums, record the drums.
Yeah.
And then
in a very DIY way as well, everything is very
like, everything
at home, everything. Asking people around, "Do you have a mic here?" Oh, calling Gareth, the Alizon. "Oh, Gareth, could you?" And he's like, "Wait, give me a call. Okay, this is the material you have, and this is what you're gonna do. So you're recording the most optimized way. So you don't have like a studio, or you choose mics. You have just one mic or one basic interface. So how you need to find the perfect settings.
So we'd send like the vocal stem, for example, to Gareth, and then he'd be, "Okay, so that's the settings you need to change on the thing. You need to like put yourself this way towards the mic, remove this, move that," and then just trying to get the best out of what we have.
So it was kind of like didn't really know exactly. We learned like how to maximize the efficiency of the equipment that we had. My computer will turn off a lot, but that's okay. And then we'll do everything remotely. We'll send the stems to Gareth, then also our friend Mazare, who co-produced it as well. I will do the production at first, then send to Gareth. He will do production and magic, and then send it to Mazare, and he will do the production, mix it, like do a mix, and then Gareth will do another mix. And then Gareth introduced us to this amazing mastering engineer called Dean from Mechanica Studios, his brother-in-law as well. So he was like, so we had like a group chat where everybody was in different places of the world, because Gareth was touring with Pendulum, like massive shows, arenas in America. Mazare is in Italy, and everything is like online. And so we'll have Alizon will have like a special ringtone for the WhatsApp group. So when we hear that ringtone, we know it's time to work. We know we need to. Everybody, take your computers. Like, let's sit down together and do.
Especially with Gareth being so busy with Pendulum and Knife Party, you never know when he's going to have time to do that, because he's doing it on the side as well. And so sometimes he would message at like 3, be like, "Hey kids, you're awake?" and then we're like, yeah, okay, let's go. Everybody goes down, and then we spend like, a few hours while he's in LA or somewhere.
They were
working on the mix.
They put so much into it, because it was, again, it's not like you hire. It's not like you have people that hire people, and then you go to a studio and you do things, and like from I don't know, from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and then goodbye, let's do it tomorrow, and like it wasn't like that. It was just friends doing favors for us, both Gareth Mazzare and Dean, who believed in it and who would encourage us a lot. And we were like, we're not professional. We're not getting the, and they're like, shut up, you can. Yes, we'll help you with this. It'll be.
Yeah, they really took the time to go into details. Like they cared as well.
But like even some, and it's some stuff that you don't really think, because you just really have time to think much about the polishing of sounds. But like, I was like, well, not all, but a lot of the guitar sounds, I just record straight DI to the Logic on the interface, and I was like, yeah, American metal, that's the sound. But yeah, then like, so it was we didn't have a lot of opportunities. Like Gareth will be like, oh my god, if we had the budget, like I will get you in a studio in London and try 20 different mics, and then we'll rent the right mic, and I was like, yeah, that'd be a dream, like in the future. But for now, like the deadline is so short, and there's no money, and we need to get all of these together, and it's I think that's something that makes it part of the strangeness of the sound, because literally the name Edge of the Abyss, that's exactly how it was recorded.
Now that name makes even more sense, but still the recording process behind this and how the sound comes to be. This is you're a band that, honestly, it's like the band that shouldn't be but is. You're the band that it's every time there's like you ask a question, the answer is no. The response is, fuck it, we're gonna do it anyway. We'll figure it out. I don't know how, but we're gonna figure it out. And somehow it gets done. Now it makes more sense too as to how this sound all has been cultivated, with everyone having their own input and the song being passed around from one person to the next to create all these different moments that somehow flow through seamlessly. And why the album has that such strong authenticity in that sound is because you're willing to do anything you could in order to make it work with the equipment that you had, with the time that you had. I hope that the ringtone for the entire group chat was Jess screaming at some point in time, so everyone knew, all right, now it's time to work, because we are in this energetic mode right now that has us going, holy shit, we got to keep going on this. There is not really many other artists or many other people in this world that would find a piece of something that would, in themselves, that they would say, you know what, this is so worth it that we're just going to keep driving forward. And every time life says no, every time there's a roadblock, we're going to find a way around it, even if it makes no sense to find a way around it. You've done that, and that is something that's going to make Edge of the Abyss that album of the year contender when it fully comes out, when people fully realize what it is. However, there is a question I always enjoy asking when there's new music coming out, and I'm going to ask the three of you that question as well. So, of course, with Edge of the Abyss coming out, at the time of recording, there's 3 singles out, but there's 8 songs that are yet to come out. I don't know which songs are going to be singles before the release of the album, but I'm pretty sure there's going to be some songs that are not going to be out by the time release day hits. Not going to ask you for your favorite, because that's way too hard, but I'm going to ask you, which song that's going to be released on release day are you most excited for people to hear?
Yeah, so good.
That is a good question. On album release day, so I would say probably Barely a Response for me.
Wow.
Because that's like, obviously we have to take into account the songs, not the songs that have already been released as singles.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Wow, that's like the opposite for me. I'd say the Tunnel Vision, like the first one. So that comes with the album. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I love it. I love that one because I particularly never know anything about if it's good or not. It's just very spontaneous like feeling. But when we play it live, people really enjoy it, and that makes me so happy to see people like super excited about it. So I'm very excited to to have the recorded version.
Nice. Yeah, I was thinking the response as well at the start, because I don't know why, because there's so many different vibes to the song that I'm just excited to see the response to that.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, cool.
I can understand that. Would it surprise all three of you if I said that the songs that I was most excited for people to hear, not sure if they're going to be singles by the time the album releases or not, but they have not been released by this time when we're recording it, and they're not one of those two songs?
Oh, which one?
Okay.
So the one there's two specifically, and both of them come at the back end of the album. The one that I think is the absolute gem of the album overall, the one that stands out above the rest, is Hate in Me. There is something about it where as I'm looking at because I go through every single song, and I always write like, okay, here's what I think of each piece so I get an understanding of it for myself, and then I could come up with an overall synopsis so I kind of have an idea of exactly what I thought when I was listening through it. I said, overall, this is the gem of the album for me. The mixture of that up-tempo potential Latin style with a pop-punk style guitar allows those cleaner pieces to have the pace energy that will allow any transition to be made with pace and vibrato stand out. So every time they go heavy in the intro, pre-chorus, post-chorus, breakdown, it all makes absolute sense to show the contrast to make it both stand out on the story, like make this whole entire story just stand out. Essentially like you're going up against like a bullying oppression. And I am all here for it. Like that song, every time the heaviness came in, it made sense. If the heaviness wasn't there, the pace behind it made that transition absolutely work. The other one is the one right after it, the final song of the album, Under the Skin, because when the verses happen, I really put for the verses, what the actual fuck happened here? Because the focus starts out a lot more aggressive metalcore with a double tap burst, aggressive guitars grooving along with some scathing uncleans. And then all of a sudden, the vocals clean up. They get deeper to create more sensual sound over the core of the instrumentals. I wasn't expecting it, but it shows the aggression and sinking in feeling to you at the end of the album. And it was probably my favorite piece of any song in the entire album was right then and there. So while I was absolutely loving the album at the beginning and going through it, when I got to the last two songs, I thought this is where you guys absolutely shine from my perspective. And that's why I can't wait for people to hear it, because especially go through the whole entire album run through from first to last, they get absolutely treated to some of the best music of 2025 at the end with those last two songs.
Oh, thank you so much. So nice. Oh, I love that. That's amazing.
It's like if I was going to listen to an album, I was going to go through it and I was going to talk to the artist about it, I'm not going to shortchange on not only my thoughts, but also like really trying to dive deep into the songs and really get an understanding of them, so that when I ask that question, I'm hoping like, please don't say the ones I'm thinking, because then we can talk about more and more songs that people have yet to hear. So when they get a chance to hear them, they're like, I'm ready to hear Under the Skin. I'm ready to hear Hate in Me. I'm ready to hear Barely a Response. I'm ready to hear Tunnel Vision. Like, they're going to be all ready to hear all of these songs. And it's like, that's like 1/3 of the album right there we just mentioned that people are going to be excited for without even hearing it. Like, hell yeah. Let's go.
Yeah. I love how you just go deep inside it as well. Like, super interesting.
I love it. I love it. I
Yeah.
love it so much. I love the what you said was so good, like a bullying depression. I love it. Oh, so good.
Hey, if I'm not going deep into them, then I'm not doing my job right. Well, the job I created for myself, right? Because I still have a full-time job that I work outside of this, because someone's got to pay the bills, and this just ain't doing it enough. So I got to get on that full-on like Calva Louise style mindset of, all right, I've been doing this for a while, but what are those no's that are coming in my way that I'm like, you know what? I can circumvent them in the most ridiculous ways, but I just got to go do it. So I got to take that type of energy and go forward after this interview. Like, that's what I have to do.
Yes.
Sounds great. Yeah.
So of course, the album comes out beginning the second half of 2025 on July 11th. What else is in store for us this year from Calva Louise? Like, when 2025 ends, what can we expect?
Well, we can probably expect to announce some touring Soon. We don't know yet exactly when.
Fingers crossed.
But yeah, we're working on like coming back to the US soon enough. It might be announced by the time the podcast is out. But we'll definitely announce some more touring before the end of the year, and we can't wait to be back to the US because we love it. And
yeah, and hopefully meet you in person.
Oh, well, then you're going to enjoy when we wrap this up to see how that all plays out, because there's always something I add in there, but that'll wait till after my final question, which is coming your way right now. I love asking this question every single artist I bring in the podcast. I've been doing this for almost 2 years now with this specific question as a way to say, we want to get to know more new music, and we want to help support the music that you love as well, so this is where the question comes in. I always ask for 3, but there are 3 of you, so it's going to be 1 for each of you. So between the 3 of you, can you name me 3 bands or artists that you love that you would love to see more people get into right now?
Of course, I love this. I got 3. Wow.
You got 3.
Yeah. I got no, but it's because Well, I mean, there's one that, of course, like we need to say, it's Bobby Wolfgang. He's amazing artist, producer, crazy live shows. It's insane. Like you need to check him out, Bobby Wolfgang. Well, that's mine. But
that's good. Yeah. Well, maybe we got some in common because obviously.
Okay.
Would be
and then I got 2. So there's a friend of mine who's a singer, an amazing artist, bass player, and so she's Venezuelan and English. And so she sings in both languages as well. She does kind of like dark pop, like synth with rock infused. Her name is Rose Ray, and I love her music.
Nice.
Should we do 1 each?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, cool. Well, I've got so there's a band that I've recently discovered. They're called Deki Alem. I'm pretty sure they're UK based. But I learned about them through a friend, and they've just released a new single. I believe it's called Fun. I think it was yesterday or the day before. But I've been caning their songs recently, and they're really cool.
Cool. And I had plenty of time to think, but I can't think of any now. I mean, there's so many. We shared the stage with so many great bands, that would deserve to be more. Like lately, Demonic Resurrection with Bloodywood. These guys are just amazing and been going.
And they're like legends.
Yeah, they're like for real. They've been through the grind. Yes. They're amazing musicians.
They're from India, and they're just insane. Like our story is pretty cool. Their story is so good. Like you should interview them. They're amazing.
So now I should try and bring them on and get to know their story and get more people to figure that out and just be like, okay, which story's crazier, them or Calva Louise? Who knows?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, they go crazy.
So I'll give them a shout out.
Yeah, absolutely. Demonic Resurrection.
So I asked for 3 and I got 4. So Calva Louise is one of those bands that loves to break the rules. It just kind of fits with the whole moniker. Plus, it's a podcast. It's not like network TV. The first rule is there are no rules. Even I've had bands break those rules and artists break those rules consistently, and it's always fun because we get to know more new music that way. But that's the way it's got to be. And to the 3 of you, I want to thank you for taking the time for joining us today. I'm going to close this episode out with 3 things, and now this is where the fun comes in. First things first, Edge of the Abyss comes out on July 11th, 2025. And when I said this album is dynamic as all hell, yeah, it absolutely is. So you're going to want to check it out. You're going to want to get into Calva Louise. You're going to want to make sure you're ready for when they go back on tour again, whether it's in Europe, the US, wherever it might be. So here's how you're going to do it. Go to description of the podcast where it says find Calva Louise online. Links and labels for everything are going to be down there. So you can follow them in social media, check out their YouTube videos, check out the album when it comes out. You can pre-save it. You can stream it. You can go see where they're going to be playing live. You can go get some merch. It's all going to be down there for you, labeled. I'm doing all the hard work here. I'm doing all the research. You just have to click and go. So go and do it. Trust me, it's totally worth it. Now it's time for number 2 in the fun part. So Whenever I have a guest on the podcast, or I join the podcast, I always tend to make a certain promise as a way to say thank you. I appreciate you taking the time, and I wish to continue to support the band in the future. This was absolutely hit from the moment this started, so this is the promise. I don't say if. If implies that this ain't going to happen. I say when, because when implies this is going to happen. We just don't have a day or time yet. But when I get to see the three of you perform live for the first time, I will come and find you. I will come and say hello to you. But that is not the promise. The actual promise is first round's on me.
Amazing.
Sounds great.
Oh, that's so sweet. Yes. Okay, that's a promise.
Yeah. So
I'll
when
remember.
So when you come back to the U.S. and I find out about it, it's like, okay, try and figure out how to get there, or figure out what show to go to. And then when it comes to trying to get my, easier way to meet you guys, I'll just have to reach out to Tori and be like, hey, can you help me out with this? So please, it'll be worth it. We'll send you a photo.
Oh, that's so sweet. Yeah, like that. Oh, that.
Where are you based?
I'm based in the city of Milwaukee. I'm about an hour and a half north of Chicago.
Oh, amazing.
Right, well,
great. I love Chicago.
We love playing in Chicago, so.
That's why I always bring up Chicago as like the main hub. Cause I'm like, for any international man, you know where Chicago is probably most likely. And it's like, okay, I go to shows there all the time. It takes me an hour and a half to get there. Going on a weeknight, yeah, that's never a problem. I will absolutely sacrifice sleep in order to go to a show that I want to go to.
But we'll have to play Milwaukee as well. Like this, no sacrifice sleep.
So you guys are sacrificing the sleep to come play up here. You give me some sleep. Oh my God, I love this. I feel so loved. Now it's time for number 3. As we bring this podcast to conclusion, I cannot end this by saying goodbye because this was an incredible amount of fun. I made you a promise. I have to keep that promise, and this cannot be the only time Calva Louise comes to the Chord Progression Podcast. I want to make sure that you come once again to the podcast, twice, 3 times, however many times we can make happen. So this cannot be goodbye. That's way too final. We'll end it by saying, I'll see you later.
Yeah,
definitely.
That's amazing.
Well, folks, my interview with Calva Louise, and now it's time for Kevin's final thought. This is very simple. This band embodies the can-do attitude. This band embodies the we will take no and shove it in its face type energy. And it's that kind of energy that has led them to have the crazy origin story that they've had. It has led them to have some of the best music I've heard of 2025. And if you're a fan of a band like Poppy or an artist like Poppy, Calva Louise and Edge of the Abyss is going to absolutely knock your socks off. Even if you're not a fan of Poppy, this is going to be something that's going to be, this is going all over the place. This is nuts, but it all makes sense. Like I said, those 2 songs at the end with Hate Me and Under the Skin are my favorites. The band said Barely a Response and Tunnel Vision. Those weren't even singles. So, yeah. This band is one that just absolutely deserves not only your attention, but not only that, but your admiration, and can be that inspiring force in your life because of what they've been through and what they constantly go through, but how they always come on the other side, shining brightly. I want to thank the man for joining the podcast today. When it comes to finding Calva Louise online, links, labels, in the description below for their whole entire music, their discography, where you can find Edge of the Abyss, where you can see him on tour, all that great stuff, and follow him online. Please also follow us on the Chord Progression Podcast, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, down there below. Hit subscribe on YouTube right down here. Hit the subscribe, follow button on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Hit the like button as well. Push these up to the algorithm. And show more love to Calva Louise. Thank you, everybody. And that's going to be everything. Thank you for actually listening to the Chord Progression Podcast. I'm Miss Kevin. And you guys know how I never think was episodes of the Big Healthy and Hearty. See ya! Yeah!